Okay, guys, good evening, all of you. We will just wait for 1 or 2 minutes more. Some more participants are yet to join. We'll wait for 1 or 2 minutes, guys, and then we'll start. We are expecting 100 students. Okay, so we will start with the session. We will be starting with Karl Marx. Okay, so guys, so far from the previous discussion, yesterday also I have introduced thinkers. So can you quickly tell me in the messages what all things you already know about Marx? What do you know about Marx? From our discussion only, there is the general discussion or general idea. I don't want to know from what we have discussed so far. What you know? Macro, critical, yes. Macro, conflict, yes. Against capitalism, evolutionary, yeah. Dysfunctional, that is conflict, yes. Macro class, okay. Conflict, okay. So yeah, many of you are typing it. Alienation, where we have discussed, Kavin, I don't know. Right? Production, right? Okay. Okay. So guys, what I'm going to do today is, right? We have to discuss three theories here: historical materialism, mode of production, then class and class struggle, alienation. So these are the theories that we are supposed to cover in this particular chapter. So what I'll be doing is, I'll first introduce Marx. I'll tell you his idea about society and individual. So this is the most important session to understand Marx. So once you know his conception about society, his idea about society and individual, you will actually you will do half of Marx, right? Because his idea about society and individual will be reflected in all his approaches, whether we are going to discuss about historical materialism or mode of production, class struggle, alienation. In all these theories, this is exactly what we are going to discuss again and again. So some technical words I'll use here and only for today, and you will understand it today, and from tomorrow onwards you're going to see those words again and again. For example, at this juncture you may not understand if I say forces of production, relations of production, economic infrastructure, superstructure. These are the words which we are going to discuss today. Understand it. Some of you already attended some coaching, I know that, and some of you have already attended my sessions as well. So you know that, but many are not attended any session. So I'll be starting again from the very basics. So we'll spend some time in understanding these concepts. Which concepts? The one which I have told you, right? Because this is the core. This is the the base from where we can develop understanding of Marx. Okay. So see, guys, if all the theories are connected to something called as production. You know what is production, right? Production of material life, production of anything. That is what we are going to see here. Entire discussion in this chapter is connected with production. Production of material resources. Any object you see in society, all these are result of this production process. So according to Marx, this is the most important process. Without production, we cannot survive. Material life means everything. Any object you see in society, this pen, right? This iPad or whatever we use, these are material objects, right? The production of these are, giving money, and that's how entire society is going on, right? So production is the most important process. Production is essential for the survival. So the first historical act, according to Marx, is the production. If you trace this history from the human civilization, any point of time, without producing things, it is difficult for survive, right? So production, ancient society, something would have produced. What was produced at that point of time, we'll see. And then feudal society, then capitalism. Now the production is different, right? Everything is done by using machines. Any object you see, it is produced and it is sold. So somebody who's producing will be paid, right? If some other is using the same. So production of material life is the most important part. Okay, that is actually the first historical act according to Marx. Now here, to undertake production, guys, it is very simple. In traditional society, you alone may be able to make some production, right? Something, if you want to produce, like artisans and all, if you see, they make handmade products and all. So production can be done at the individual level, no problem. But that is not enough, sufficient, over a period of time, what will happen is that production will not do anything. So if you need to produce, you need to enter into relations with others, either for production or something which you have produced, you need to sell also, right? You need to exchange also. So what you need relations. So now this is going to be connected with production. So we are talking about production. You guys understood what you mean by production of material life, right? Production of material life means any object you see in society, any object that we use, this is what material life, right? So production of these things like this pen that I'm using, or the iPad that I'm using, or the camera, or whatever it is, all these are material objects. So the production of these things are assuming utmost importance in Marxian analysis. So let's begin our discussion from production. Guys, according to Marx, human beings have needs. We have needs, right? That is the reason why we need to produce things. To satisfy our needs, we need to produce things. It should be basic needs. It can be basic needs like food, shelter, dress, and all those things. That is what needs. But once the basic needs are met, we create new needs. Yes or no, right? So once we start eating the basic food, then the next step is we will consume more food, right? Then protein food, like that. That once the need is met, further needs will come. So same in the case of dress, same in the case of shelter, whatever it is, we have basic needs. But see, that is a fundamental nature of human beings, guys. If you compare it with dog, right? See, only food, shelter, that's enough. There is no further needs. There is no greed, right? But that is not the case with human beings. We have basic needs. We all have that. And once the basic needs are met, we create new needs. For example, I may have one car, but that car may be used for some purpose, maybe for daily use. Another car will be used for some functions, right? So this is how human beings create needs. The first car may be your need. Second, you are creating new needs, right? It's like that. Same as the case with anyone. So to satisfy all these needs, what is required? Production. So this is a never ending process. Why production is a never ending process? Because the needs are unlimited. Your first need is met, you create another need. That will be met, another need. You got my point? So production of material life is ever continuing, ever increasing, and it's a never ending process. Just because of this term need, we keep on creating needs. Okay, so everything is going to be revolving around production now. To produce, you need to enter into relation with others. Even, guys, we can take this class also as a production process. Later you will understand. Now you may think what kind of production is going to happen here, but it is actually a production process. I'll tell you how. It's a kind of service, right? This is exchange of service, so it's a production only. So if you need to produce, you have to enter into relation. So relation with others is very essential for production to take place. So Marx considered this as relations of production. So now onwards, I'll be using this word, relations of production. What does this mean, relations of production? Nothing. To undertake production, you need to enter into relation. That is what he considered as relations of production. So now onwards, I'll be using this term. To undertake production, relations of production is necessary, essential. So what do you mean by relations of production? We enter into relation with others to produce, right? And guys, this relations of production are of two types. Relation between man and man. Okay, this is between two individuals. For example, worker and capitalist. This capitalist need the worker for production. Capitalist cannot produce everything, yes or no? So capitalist need the worker. He need the support of the worker. Without that, he cannot be a capitalist. He cannot produce unlimited things and he cannot accumulate unlimited profit. So the capitalists need to enter into relation. At the same time, worker also need to enter into relation with capitalist for his survival. So this relation of production are of two types between man and man. First one, you got my point? It is between two human beings, individuals. Second is man and things. Man and things means this is the relation of ownership or non-ownership. For example, if you see this pen, this is used for the production. Yes or no? Here, if you consider this class as a production process, this pen is used for production. Or if you take a capitalist setup, any industry, there are machines, right? These machines and factories and everything which is used for production. The ownership of this machines. For example, if you take the capitalist, what is that relation? Ownership relation. Okay. If you take the worker, non-ownership relation. So relation between man and things is based on ownership and non-ownership. So man and things, for with this pen and me, this is ownership relation. With you, it is non-ownership. Same as the case with a capitalist setup. If you go for industry, capitalist owns the factory or the machine. That is ownership relation. Worker do not own that, so non-ownership relation. So there is a relation. The worker using the same machines, yes or no? Yes, but what is the relation? Non-ownership, no belongingness, no ownership. Capitalist using the same machines to produce things, that is ownership relation. See the word relation, I'm talking about relation. So relations of production, two types, man and man. It is between two individual, right? Like you and me, this is between man and man. Capitalist and worker, that is another example. Manager, worker, supervisor, etc. I don't understood what you're asking, Shweta. What word are you using means which word I'm talking about? Not missions, it's machine. Machine, which is used to undertake production. The machines. Not mission. When you are talking about industry, why I need to talk about mission? It's machine. Okay. Is there any problem with the pronunciation in that? I don't know. Okay. So guys, man, and then man and things. Is there any problem in understanding this one? Relations of production. It is nothing. When you need to produce things, you need relations. And these relations are divided into two. Relation between man and man, relation between man and things. Man and man, you can see here, it is between two individuals. For example, capitalist and worker. There is a relation, yes or no? Yes. That is between two individuals. Man and things, for example, man, capitalist, machines, or this pen. All these you can take as an example. This is ownership and non-ownership. Okay. In some cases, you will see this is living relation. Okay. This is living and non-living. Why? Because here this is man, two living human beings, right? So that is why this is living and this is non-living. So relations of production are of two types, living and then living and non-living. Okay, are you with me so far? Any doubts so far? Because I want to discuss each and every step slow and repeatedly so that it will be printed into your head, because this is the same thing that we're going to see again and again. You will see this word time and again in discussions of Marx, relations of production. Are we done with this? We started off with production and then we discussed about relations of production, which is having two parts, man and man, that is two individual, man and things, individual, and the objects or machines or anything which is used to undertake production, any tools, anything. Okay, guys. Now, to undertake production, not only relations, just because there are individuals and relations, is that necessary? No, right? Is that enough? No. You need some tools and techniques and equipments and all those things which are required for the production to take place. So what do you need? You need tools, techniques, etc. Marx terms this as forces. These are forces which is going to help you or assist you in production. So this is what forces of production. Okay, so two keywords that I have used now, relations of production and then forces of production. To undertake production, you need two aspects. One is forces of production, the other is relations of production. What do you mean by forces of production? It is the tools and techniques, equipments which is required. Okay, now forces of production are of two types. Again, living and non-living. Now you will be confused here. Forces means tools and technique. Then how and why I'm using this term living? Guys, here this forces of production include the labor force also. Okay, labor force also. So labor force means living, right? Because the worker, even the capitalist also coming under here. Because in the forces of production, it is not only the labor force that the worker, capitalist, all are coming, they are the living part. Okay, within forces of production, living and non-living is there. Living mainly include the labor force. Without labor force, you can't undertake production. So when you use the term forces, this is also required. Worker, capitalist, manager, supervisor, everybody involved in the production process will come here. They are also part of forces of production. Guys, when I use the word relations of production, I'm talking about the relation between these two. They are in relation. Here, I'm talking about labor force. That is coming under forces of production. Okay? Non-living means this one. The tools, techniques, equipments, etc., which is required. This is non-living, right? The machines and everything. You got my point? This is also known as means of production. So what is means of production? If I use the word means of production, it is the non-living part of forces of production. Forces of production have living part, non-living part. Living part is the worker, capital, everybody involved in the production process is living. Because without them, you cannot undertake production. Previously, I've discussed about without their relation, you cannot undertake production. Now, without them, they are also part of the production. That's why forces of production. You got me? So living, non-living means the tools. For example, this one I'm using. If we consider this as a production process, this is a tool which I'm using, right? This is non-living. Living, that I'm taking the class. I'm doing some job, service, right? That is a living part. Okay, guys. So non-living, the tools, techniques, etc. This is what means of production. So if you consider this class as a production process, what do you mean by the living part? The people who are involved, right? What is the difference between forces of production and relation of production? I don't understand why you are not able to follow that. Forces of production means what is required for production. Relations of production means the relation between what all things are involved in production. Both need to be there. Not only, worker and capital is required. They need to be in a relation also. Otherwise, production cannot take place. There is a worker, there is a capitalist. Can the production take place? No. They need to enter into a relation. That is what I've discussed in the first part. Here, I'm talking about the forces which is required for production. You need a worker, you need a capitalist for undertaking production. Yes, but these two need to be in connection. That's what I've discussed in relation of production. They need to enter into relation. Without simply there is a capitalist in this city and another worker in this city, can the production take place? No, but capitalist worker required, but they need to enter into relation. For example, even in this session, if you consider this as a production process, you sitting in, where are you from, Priya? Where, I don't know, whatever it is, you are somewhere and I'm here. Okay, does that mean this service will happen here? No, we need to enter into a relation. That is what I've discussed first. Relation between two people, which is necessary for production. Okay, at the same time, two human beings also required. No, that is what I've classified under worker, capitalist, etc. Gurugram, whatever it is. Okay, fine. Okay, guys, so I'll repeat once again. I have talked about relations of production. Now onwards, I'll be using this term ROP. Okay, and then we have discussed about forces of production. Now onwards, we'll be using FOP. Okay, what is forces of production? What is required for production? Whatever is required for production. Mainly, we talk about the tools, techniques, etc., equipments. This is also known as means of production. This is the non-living part. Perfect. So non-living part of forces of production is what means of production. There is also living part. What are they? It is nothing but the labor force. Now guys, when I use the term labor force, don't only consider the worker. It involves worker, capitalist, supervisor, everybody who's involved in this are coming here. Okay? Are you with me so far? Now here, I'm talking about labor force. I'm talking about the relation between these here. Labor force, in which capitalist is there, worker is there. The relation between them is required for production. That's what? Man and man. These two must enter into relation. Yes or no? Without that, production won't take place. This is the relation of production, first dimension. Second one, these tools I have discussed. what is the connection between these tools and the people engaged in the production process? What is the relation? It is an ownership relation or non-ownership relation. For example, if you see the machines or the tools and the capitalist, it is the ownership. How they are connected? Ownership. How the worker and the equipments connected? Non-ownership. So if you see here, here what I'm discussing, what is required for production. Here what I'm discussing, how these are connected. Okay, so relations of production, forces of production, very much necessary for the production to take place. Okay guys, now this relations of production and forces of production together will create, you can produce, this is enough. But what will happen is, when the production acquire complex form, this is a basic necessity, this is actually the core. And you will see from here later onwards, this term, this is known as economic infrastructure. This is a base or the core, and this base is what Marx terms as economic infrastructure, or simply infrastructure also you will see in Marxian writings. Okay guys, so ROP and FOP is the base. From here, if you need to develop, what will happen is, when the production acquire more and more complex form, we need the assistance of so many other parameters as well. So what we do is, we create so many other things like these things which will help in the production process. What are they? These are various social institutions, and like if you see religion, family, the culture, education system, even the state, the parliament, and everything is created by the capitalist. Why? Because all these are going to help in the production process. At the initial level, all these are not required, but when the production acquires complex form, you need education because it will create the labor force. You need family because one dimension, there is a private property, you need to have the private property, it have to be passed on to the next generation. Second, family will also send the labors to the, for working. Because of family only you are ready to get exploited and you are working. Otherwise, many of these people will not work. You are mortifying your body and mind in the workplace. For whom? For your family. Maybe for your wife and the kid and your parents, sisters. You got me? So family is also created by capitalists. Religion, we have discussed yesterday, right? Religion is the heart of heartless world, soul of soulless condition, and opium of masses. Religion is also giving a fake promise. You suffer maximum in this world, you get heaven in the next world. So the workers are ready to get exploited. It is opiating masses. So all these are created by capitalists, which will help in the further production. Okay, and these elements are what he called as social superstructure. So guys, economic infrastructure and social superstructure. What is economic infrastructure? The core, which involve FOP and ROP. What is social superstructure? All the social institutions. For example, even the parliament will come there. According to Marx, parliament is the executive committee of bourgeois. Constitution is the document of bourgeois. Education just create the labor force. Culture, it is decided and created by the capitalist. Family also provide labor. Religion also provide the labor in one way or the other. Okay. No, this is what the logic of religion. It's like this only. Religion is opiating the masses. Religion is actually preventing you from going for a revolution and changing the system, because you are ready to get exploited here. The religion mainly talk about other world, right? There is another world where you are going to spend all your, here maximum you will be 50, 60 years. And then there is another world where you'll get heaven. So suffer maximum in this world. Maximum suffering here will be rewarded adequately by heaven. Okay, so guys, I hope this much you understood. So what we have discussed so far, I have discussed about ROP, I've discussed about FOP, relations of production, forces of production, and this is what is this called? What is this called? Can you just type? Yes. Okay, economic infrastructure. And then when the production acquires its complex form, what will happen? You need many more institutions to support production. So all these things will gradually come. What are these called? These are social superstructure. So guys, first time when you write this in your answer, you need to use economic infrastructure, social superstructure. Second time, if you're writing, if you can write economic infrastructure and social superstructure, it is good. But you can simply write infrastructure and superstructure. Infrastructure and superstructure. Economic infrastructure, social superstructure. Okay, and this put together, this is his idea about society. So what, according to Marx, is society? It is based on production process. It is based on economic infrastructure and superstructure. Economic infrastructure is what is required for production, the base or the core of society, ROP and FOP. Superstructure, all the social institutions. This is what the systemic view of society. Okay, I'll give you another diagram also, which is given by another thinker. Later in the PDF, it is there, systemic view. This is also something which you can draw. Now, what Marx says is, now, this is the key point which you need to understand, guys, because this is the perspective. From here onwards, we are going to, this is what we are going to use here onwards. In all Marxian interpretation, if you need to interpret something in terms of Marxian perspective, this is what you need to use. Understand this only. This one diagram will help you to explain or express anything in Marxian terms. Okay, there is economic infrastructure. What is that? ROP and FOP. Guys, it is nothing but the system. It is nothing but the capital. If it is capitalist system, capitalist system. That's setup. That is what economic infrastructure. What the system is. Because ROP and FOP will be decided. The relations and the tools, everything is decided on the basis of the system. Perfect. So this is the current system. And then superstructure, which involve what? Culture, religion, education, family, politics, the state, the everything. Okay, guys. What Marx says is, now, guys, this need to be printed into your heart. This is what exactly you can use for all Marxian interpretation. It is the economic infrastructure which shapes the superstructure. Okay, it is the economic infrastructure which shapes the superstructure. That means the education system that we have, it is created by the system. Why? Because that education system support the current system, which create the labor and all those things. Similarly, religion, similarly the culture, the family, consumerist culture, if you see, family, right? Because these capitalists will create some hyper reality, thereby promoting consumerism. Then why it is shaping this? Because which in turn helps in the functioning of the economic. What is the relation between economic infrastructure and superstructure now? One simple term that we can explain. What is that? Economic infrastructure shapes the superstructure. Why? It helps in the functioning of economic infrastructure. So whatever social institutions you see now, which is shaped by whom? The capitalist or the system. Why? Because it helps in the functioning of the system. Religion, shaped by economic infrastructure. Why? It helps in the functioning. Education, shaped by the system, help in the functioning of the system. Family, created by the system, help in the functioning of the system. You got my point? This is how you can explain everything in Marxian terms. Anything you see, something is existing which is shaped or created by the infrastructure or the system. Why? Because it helps in the functioning of the system. And when I talk about system, it is a capitalist. We are talking about capitalist system. Okay. So guys, whatever we have discussed, if you have any doubt, I can repeat also. Relations of production. Why relations? Because to undertake production, you need to enter into relation with others. That is what relations of production. It is of two types: relation between man, and then relation between man and things. Is there any doubt, guys, here? Man and man, living part, living part. Man and things, living and non-living. What is this relation? This is the relation of ownership and non-ownership. Okay. Now forces of production. This is the forces which is required. Two types of forces are there. One is the non-living, that is the tools and techniques. The other is the labor force, right? So here also living and non-living, right? Living means the labor force, which involve worker, capitalist, and everything. Everybody who's involved in production. Non-living as the tools and techniques. Perfect. So this is FOP, ROP. Okay, guys. So this is the economic infrastructure. And these are superstructure: religion, family, education, culture, etc. You can put some dots here. All you see as part of social superstructure. And this is what the systemic view of society, according to Marx, which involve economic infrastructure and superstructure. Yeah, Priya. Tools means force. Tools are the means of production. Non-living part is the means of production. Relation between man and man is not based on anything, because it can be any relation: worker capitalist relation, supervisor worker relation, capitalist supervisor relation, you and me relation, right? You and another your friend relation, and all these are relations, because some kind of relations need to be there in the production process. Okay, guys. Now what we will do? We will see the PDF. In case if you are not able to understand anything in this, you can just message me. I'll discuss that. Because guys, when you're preparing for your exam, what I need you to do is, you might be reading whatever I've told you, even essential sociology also, but not for thinkers, only for referring to criticisms and all. You can do that, but entire understanding of thinkers should actually come from our PDF and our sessions. Okay, so, and this is exactly what you need to write also. This is from the exam point of view. This is what you need to write in your paper. Everything I've underlined, which you are not supposed to miss. And guys, only thing that you need to do is cut, copy, paste. Not much effort is there, especially in thinkers, because I'm explaining everything in detail, and you're going to learn this, read this 2-3 times. Automatically, this will be printed into your mind. So it will be very easy also. Marx says, in order to survive, man must produce. According to Marx, production of material life was the first historical act in the history of human civilization. It is also the starting point of the history or the society. Production is essential for the survival of human beings. It is a fundamental condition of history, as this act is never ending and follows an evolutionary path. Underlying this necessity of production, guys, what you can do is, you have all the, see, one thing which I want to tell you is, in case for a better understanding, what you can do, you have all the recordings. So watch the videos first. For example, I'm taking this session today. So if you watch this, and then if you're attending this session, when we are interacting, it will be more clear to you. Okay, and I know many of my students, what they do is, when they just go for gym or running, what they do is they just keep on listening to thinkers. So automatically this will be printed into your mind, because this is the most important area. Everything else is going to be very simple if you're strong in this. Trust me, this is the most important part, and if you're good in this, and there is nothing difficult also in this. Okay, you can keep on listening to the sessions 1 or 2 times, then it will be fine. Production is essential. Okay, underlying this necessity of production, Marx also holds some specific assumptions about individual. For him, human beings generate needs. Man is perpetually a dissatisfied animal. When the basic needs are met, he creates new needs, and this initiates the beginning of constant struggle between man and nature. Okay, because see, whatever we need, we have to produce it from the society, right? From the nature, you have to get it from the nature. For example, even if you need to make a house, what is required? You need brick, right? Which is very essential. So you need to get the soil from the nature, and then you need to convert into brick. Similarly, cement, or whatever it is, the raw material you have to get from the nature. So you are in a constant struggle with nature, and it is very difficult for you alone to struggle with nature to make all these things, right? That is why you need to enter into relation also. Okay, guys, there's a very important point which I missed it in the beginning. There is a constant struggle between man and nature, because whatever you need have to get from the nature. This struggle reflected in terms of continuous development that in the nature of production, or in the way man produce things. you can see we keep on developing, evolving. New tools and techniques are evolving to overcome all the the constraints imposed by nature, to overcome rain or to overcome night, right? Not renewable energy. Okay, that is there. See, when the light is not there, we have what we did. We created the lights and whatever is required, right? Similarly, to overcome, even during Corona time, now we are running the classes, right? That is how, in the capitalist setup, things are developing. It will automatically come. Hmm. 1 minute. Guys, if there is any doubt, you can just message me when we go through the PDF. Since I've explained everything, I'm going a bit faster. In order to produce, man must enter into relation with others. Man must organize for undertaking production. According to Marx, the organization of production varies from era to era and from society to society. Perfect. What do you mean by this? It has been changed. The way we produce things in 1900 and now it is entirely different. Similarly, the way we produce things in India as well as in US is different, right? Of course, nature imposed limitation on the organization of production, but it does not completely determine it. Why? Because we have the capability to control nature. How we do that? We enter into relations and we use some forces. That's how we control nature. Thus, the relations are essential for the production to take place. Further, we also need tools and techniques for production to take place. So this relations is what he called as ROP. This is what he called as forces. Guys, are you with me so far? Any doubts here? Now we will take relations of production to living. That means man, and living and non-living, man and things. So let's see the first one, relation between man and man. Involve the relationship between people engaged in the production process. Any people who are in the production process, their relation. These people are labor force. That will be part of forces of production. But I'm talking about their relation. You got me? In a modern factory, positions like manager, supervisor, and all these are examples of man and man. Okay? Now, the relation between man and things. On the other hand, the relation between man and things are based on ownership and non-ownership of things related to production process. Capitalist owns the factory. Then this is a relation between ownership of man and thing, worker, non-ownership. Okay? Any doubts so far? Okay. Yeah, tell me. Okay, individual I'll tell towards the end. That's a very simple concept only. No problem. Okay, guys. Now, according to Marx, production has to be managed, and the different relations of production symbolize different forms of management. Okay, so what do you mean by that? Different relations of production symbolize different forms of management. You see manager, supervisor, you see the hierarchy. That's based on management, right? Based on the hierarchies, that's how you manage the production process. The relationship between people in the existing society is conceptualized as antagonist relation or antagonist cooperation, antagonistic or antagonist cooperation. Now, this is a very important term which you need to use every time in Marx. Why antagonist cooperation, guys? See, you see worker and capitalist. Are they in cooperation? Yes, they are in cooperation, because without capitalist, worker cannot survive. Without the worker, capitalist cannot make profit or produce things. So they are in cooperation. But are their cooperation is like, they are ready to do anything for each other? Is that unconditional support or cooperation? No, just because the capitalist is paying, worker is doing some favor or working, right? It's not a favor, it's working. So their interests are contradictory. For example, the worker need the capitalist to pay more wages. He want to work less time. He need better working condition. No, friendly or not is different thing. That they can be friendly, but imagine, see their interest. Forget about friendship or anything. That's not important here. I'm talking about their interest. Worker need to work very less time. He will just want to time pass. Somehow the time has to go, right? He want more wages. He want better conditions. What about the capitalist? Exactly opposite, right? He need to pay less wages and more working hours. Why? Because if you pay less wages, then only your cost of production will come down. Guys, imagine a capitalist whose cost of production is better. Can he survive? Even the capitalist also cannot survive. For example, you have a capitalist 1, capitalist 2. Both are making this pen. Okay, suppose this guy having a cost of production is 7, and this guy is very cool and friendly with the workers, and he is giving better wages. So what will happen? His cost of production is coming to 9. Now imagine capitalist 1 having a cost of, he's making a pen at the cost of 7. This guy is making at 9. Now he can even sell at 9 and making 2 rupee profit. He can sell at 10 to make 1 rupee profit. Now if he sell at 10, will anyone buy when this guy is selling at 9 and making 2 rupee profit already? So can he survive? No. So even the capitalist also have to do this. Otherwise he cannot survive. That is a system. Okay. Now this is not social capital, chemistry. Social capital is something different. Okay, so here I have explained what is it. Okay, antagonist cooperation. Forces of production, man, that is the living part, that is the labor force, which include the labor as well as the entrepreneur, the capitalist also. Things, non-living part, that is a means of production, the tools and the techniques and equipments and everything. Okay guys, now this is a very important point. These forces of productions are used to transform nature into use value or exchange value. What do you mean by this? Use value, exchange value? For example, just now I have told you soil, if you take, that is from nature, you convert this to brick, then it will have a use value because you can use it. You can exchange it in terms of money. It is having an exchange value. So how you convert soil to brick? Do you need FOP? Yes, you need some tools and equipments and labor force, right? That is what I've written here. These FOPs are used to transform nature into use value and exchange value. I hope you guys got it. Anyone have any doubt here in this part? Just remember that example so that even you can write in your PDF, write this example, and then you won't forget it. Okay. Use value. I have explained what is it also. Just read that what is there in the bracket. According to Marx, there is a close relation between forces of production and relations of production. The relations of production change with forces of production and vice versa. Guys, there is a close relation between forces of production and relations of production. This I'll explain when we discuss about class struggle. For example, see, let's say A is a farmer. Okay, so he have this much land and he will till the land and he will go cultivate and everything. So he was in relation with B for tilling the land. For example, tilling the land, and B is a traditional person and he used this bullock and everything. That setup. That means a very traditional old setup. So A and B were in connection. Now what happened is forces of production changed. That means new techniques have come. What is that? Tractor have come. So C come with tractor. Now what will happen with this relation? Whether the relation will change or A will stick to B. A won't stick to B. Why? Because if you are using tractor, you can do it better and you can use less time. You need to pay less. So A will automatically change to C. What happened here? Forces of production change in FOP lead to change in ROP. Are you getting me? See, again, you take your own example. The best way to explain is, see, here, let's suppose you are in this area and this is your local teacher. So you would have gone to what? This teacher, right? Traditionally, if the Zoom sessions or anything is not there, so you would have gone for this teacher, right? This is the situation. Now there is a technology, that means forces of production changed. So you have access to me and you can come here. So what happened? This relation, now this is you, right? And you were in relation with this guy, now change to this guy. You got me? Why these relations have changed? Because of the change in forces of, I'll explain this once again. This is you, this is your teacher, whoever it is from your local area. Now FOP have changed. That means the Zoom sessions and everything have come. Now, rather than going to this guy, what you're doing, you have a better access, right? So you have someone who's sitting here and you can approach me. So here you can see this forces of production because of this change in FOP, this relation have gone, this relation have come. Okay. FOP, forces of production. See what I've told you, that farmer A is a farmer. B, A and B were connected, but B, traditional guy using the bullock setup. Now C came with tractor. So this relation have gone. This relation came. Why this has came? Because there is a change in forces of production. Tools have changed. So relations will change. Okay. There is a constant interplay between these two. According to Marx, as the production acquires complex form, it is made possible not only because of particular relations and forces, but it is a result of complex operation of number of other factors. So guys, this is also a very important line. When the production acquires complex form, it is made not only possible because of ROP and FOP, you need more number of factors. What are they? Religion, family, culture, state, education, and all these things are going to help in this regard. Thus, the influence of production is not only limited to producing things only, but it also creates other conditions in society which make the production possible. Other condition means what I mean here. All these social institutions. It is created by what? The entire production process. Okay, the system. Thus, according to Marx, a complex interplay between FOP and ROP result into a particular social formation. Guys, note down this word. Sometimes instead of society, Marx used the word social formation, mode of production. All these are used for society. So what you need to write when you're writing the answer? In Marxian questions, if the question is related to Marx, use mode of production, use social formation rather than writing society. Okay, use any of this. Social formation, you can use. Mode of production, you can use rather than saying society. Okay, which also its existence from the production process, and it is still distinct. This formed the basis of systemic view of Marx. This was a mains question before. So what is systemic view? Guys, that is nothing but ROP, FOP, that is the infrastructure, economic infrastructure. All these, what is mentioned here, social institutions are superstructure. This is a systemic view. You can draw this diagram, which is given by Fletcher. You complete this diagram like this and then put like this dotted line, so that here otherwise what happened, 1, 2, 3, 4 only. When you put the dotted line, unlimited social institutions will come here. So what is economic? Here you write FOP and ROP also. Economic infrastructure, FOP, ROP, and then social superstructure. This is a diagram which you need to draw. If the question is about systemic view, all these things you need to write, and systemic view is this. Okay, Marx used different terms for society in different texts: social formation, mode of production, all these are society. Now, as the economic infrastructure changes, the superstructure also changes. Why? The answer is coming here. Economic infrastructure shapes the superstructure. Guys, write the same words and the tone should be the same in your answer, which in turn help in the functioning of economic infrastructure. That's why, obviously, if economic infrastructure change, what will change? Superstructure will change. Why? Because it is the economic infrastructure create the superstructure for helping its functioning. So when the system change, superstructure also will change. Right? Traditionally, nuclear joint family, that has been changed to nuclear family because the system have changed. Now comes single parent family or live-in family. The system is changing. Or weekend family. Weekend family means the couples meet on the weekends. Like that, okay? Because of the necessities of work. Or because of the necessities of work, no marriage at all, no commitment. Single parent, but you can have child, right? Or no need to have any obligation. Online family. We will see different types of family in that chapter. Okay, guys. Economic infrastructure. Are you able to explain this one now? Shapes the superstructure, which in turn help in the functioning of economic infrastructure. Guys, this is the only thing that you need to know. But obviously, what is FOP? What is ROP? What is the infra? What is the superstructure? Just right here, education, family, culture, state, and all these religion, all these elements are superstructure. which all are created by infrastructure, shapes and helps in functioning. That's why I've told you, if this is changing, obviously this will change, right? Because the system needs this, so the system creates this. You will understand more when we discuss tomorrow. Feudal system, suppose those elements were different. Ancient society, the system was different. Capitalism, all these elements are different. Okay. Okay. Now, his idea about individual, that we will discuss more in the chapter on alienation, but I'll tell you here, he is talking about being and social being. Being means what we originally are. What is our fundamental nature? We are a creative humanism and all those things are there. Being is what you are. Like if no one is watching you, if you are in your home alone, what you are. That's what being. Social being means what you are in society. You may be a teacher, you may be an engineer, you may be a police officer, right? So you will be branded like this. That's what social being. So when you see the words manager, supervisor, teacher, engineer, these are social beings. That's how you are known or understood in society. That's a social being. Being means what you originally are. Okay, so we will see more in detail in the theory of alienation. I'll just tell you, see here. Apart from developing a linkage between production and society, Marx also examined the influence of production on individual consciousness. How the production is affecting our consciousness, our thought process. Practically, individual consciousness falls within the domain of superstructure. Guys, very important line is this one. Where individual consciousness will come? Consciousness will come here. So, our consciousness is shaped by what? What we think is shaped by what? Are we thinking from our own? No, right? We are thinking, we are acting, everything based on the system. Why are you preparing for this exam? It is because there are some advantages that you're going to get, right? Why you are preparing for when you're studying MBA, or why? Because it has been demanded by the system. So what you think, what you do, everything is based on this, not your. So what Marx says is, one minute, guys. Okay, there is a very famous statement that they will ask you as a question also. It is not the consciousness of an individual. That means what you think. That's what I mean by consciousness of an individual. It is not the consciousness of an individual which decides the social existence. On the other hand, it is a social existence, that means where you stay, where you stand, is what decides your consciousness. For example, you're an IAS officer. You think based on that. You're an IPS officer, you think based on that. You're a doctor, you think, you act on the basis of that. So it is the system. It is a situation which force you to think this way. That means it is not the consciousness of the individual which decides your existence. On the other hand, it is your existence. What society, what system you are in, that decides and determines the way you think, the way you act, and everything. Consumerism, everything I'll discuss when it comes to alienation. This concept I'll discuss more in detail in the theory of alienation. Okay, guys, so this is what I want to tell you. You got me, you got my point. So consciousness, even tomorrow also I'll discuss this. Guys, consciousness means ideas. Now see here. What you think are your ideas, yes or no? So your ideas are shaped by what? It is a system. So what you think is shaped by whom? It is a system. So do you remember what non-positivists say? It is the ideas and everything is what you need to study, the internal meanings. But what Marx says, it is a system which shapes the ideas. So there is a concept of dialectical idealism by Hegel. Marx changed that to dialectical materialism. That's what I'm going to discuss tomorrow. Marx is not interested in ideas. Why he is not interested in ideas? Because ideas are consciousness only. It is coming here. Why is studying this. Instead, you should study this. Why? Because this create the ideas. Guys, if you have any confusion here so far, I'll discuss that tomorrow. What is dialectical idealism, materialism, and everything. Okay. Yes, social existence. Don't say society. Social existence, the system, the social condition, social formation. These are the words you need to use now onwards in Marx. Okay, so practically, individual consciousness falls within the domain of superstructure. The consciousness of an individual is influenced by a person's position in the process of production. That means where you stand. That's how you think, the way you act, right? It is your position in the, if you're a supervisor, you think in that way. If you're a manager, you think in that way. If you're a capitalist, your thought will be like that way. If you're not thinking that way, then you cannot be a capitalist for a long time. If you're a worker, you will think in that way, right? To further clarify the idea of consciousness, Marx distinguishes between being and social being. Being is the basic nature of man, independent of his existence. So that is what being, where you are, whether you're a worker or a capitalist or a supervisor, independent of that, what you really are. That's what being. What is social being? You act and think as a capitalist or a worker. That is what social being. According to Marx, being is perpetually dissatisfied. Further, Marx's conception of being is in terms of creative humanism. Creativity is essential. I'll discuss this in detail in theory of alienation. Social being refers to the existence of individual in society. How we exist in society is one's place in the production process, where you stand at the production process. It is defined by the nature of activity you perform, what kind of job you do. The term worker, manager, etc. denote social being. What do you mean by social being? You are a student, it's a social being. I'm a teacher, that's a social being. A doctor, social being. Okay, all these are social being. But what you originally are is the being, independent of what you do in society. Okay. Thus, according to Marx, individual consciousness in society is determined by one's social being rather than being. Why? Because the way you think is based on where you stand. That's why individual consciousness is determined by social being and not being. Social being is your position in the production process, your position in the system. So I've told you already, it is a consciousness which is decided by the situation where you stand. Okay. So guys, I think this part is slightly, confusing because I have just given one paragraph only. Why? Because I will be discussing this in detail in the theory of alienation. So that's why I've just mentioned about that. But why I am spending too much time in this area is because this is what we are going to discuss in all the theories tomorrow, day after tomorrow, 3 days, 4 days that we are going to spend on Marx. Entire 4 days we'll be talking about this. So guys, any doubt with respect to relations of production? We started with the process of production, relations of production, forces of production. This is what economic infrastructure, various other elements contributing, that is what superstructure, and this together is what is society. This economic infrastructure shapes the superstructure, which in turn help in the functioning of the infrastructure. This is what you need to know. That's it. Nothing more. Guys, don't you think it's very simple? There is nothing, like what you might have learned so far about Marx. It's entirely different. Not learned, you have heard something from someone. Even the so-called Marxists also don't know anything what actually Marx talked about. That you will see in the coming sessions. Guys, any doubt here? You can unmute and you can talk also now.
Sir, what kind of questions are generally asked from this topic?
Direct. Now in this particular area they will ask you Marx idea about society and individual. You need to reproduce the same thing. You don't want to add anything. You don't want to avoid anything. Right, as per the word limit. Tomorrow we will be discussing the theory. These are direct only. Mode of production, historical materialism, then class struggle. Guys, they can also ask you that statement which I have given to you, like it is not the consciousness of man that decides his existence. On the other hand, it is a existence that decide consciousness. Discuss, but then you will understand from where this question is asked and you will be able to write it. All the questions I think we can discuss towards the end of the discussion of Marx last day. Okay, guys, just read this, understand it, make your own write-up, write from your thought, like whatever you understood. Meaning of materialism means focusing on these material objects, more needs, consumerism, all these are like that one. Guys, what you need to do today, you understood the session. In case if there is any doubt, just watch once more video, which is available to you, and then read the PDF, try to write it from your side. Okay, whatever you understood, just see, at least you think about what we have done so far. What is force super? Just think whether you can explain in your own words. Guys, if you can explain in your own words, then there is no problem. You never bother about whether it is 50 word, 150 word, 600 word. Guys, I can easily explain this in 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour session also. I can take on the same content. I can write in 100 words, 200 words, 500 words, 1000 words. So there is no question of how many words you can write, how to write. It is all about whether you can explain everything in 50 words or not. Then you can write in 500 words also. Okay. Okay, guys, we will stop here. Any doubts? Yeah. So we will see the actual theory tomorrow. This is just an introduction. Actual theory will be starting tomorrow. See you guys. Just read this once and very clear with the concepts.